standardization is integrated into this funding program or framework program for funding of projects. And we hope that it will be more integrated in the next program in 2027 then. But let's go a bit more into what can we do. All right. There is the Guide 23, which is called Research Consortium Bridge, addressing research innovation, European standardization activities and deliverables. It is written here, and we're going to share the slides. So if you want to read about all of this, like look at this guide, everything is described there. And the slides here are a high-level summary. So what can we do? The first point is identification of relevant standardization landscape. This is a basic thing, like what's actually out there. And this is something that research and innovation projects can do. This includes like finding out applicable standards in a certain field, but also like developing standardization roadmaps, like where do we want to go with something in the future. A second point, a big point, is that research projects can actually contribute to new standards or modify existing standards. And this is quite important because there's public funding for these activities. And within this, we have 3 points. The first one is how can they do it? Via a technical committee. So contribute to ongoing work, either via project partners or via the projects themselves. And then the next one is a CEN or a CENILEC workshop agreement. I think you've heard about CWAs this morning a bit. There's also our own guide about this. All right. So just some brief words about all of these points, and then we would look at an example. So the first point, identification of relevant standardization landscape, applicable standards and standardization roadmaps. It is, it can mean a lot, but maybe I'll jump to the next one to show you an example, because it is also something that we at CEN and CENILEC are doing. You can read the slides, but I think it's more interesting to talk about examples. So something that you could do in this regard is like help project partners finding out what is out there in terms of standardization. For us, we have a project ongoing, which is called Stand for Swap. And here we create like a specific standardization roadmap on swappable battery systems. So we try to find out how can we standardize this field in Europe? How can we help them? What is actually needed for this, or where can we go with this? We don't know. But this project tries to find out how this could look like over 2 years. It's very sector specific. Another example for like a standardization roadmap, a bit broader, could be the RISES project to mainstream circular economy or industrial symbiosis specifically across all TCs. So it's not very specific. We just try to find out how can we make standards or standardization deliverables more like sustainable in a nutshell. Right, so this could be some deliverables that a project can be working on. Then how can a project actually contribute on an individual perspective and the next on a project perspective? Right. So in a project, you usually have a lot of partners, can be between 2 and, I don't know, 30. It doesn't really matter. But all of these partners could be involved personally, like with their companies in a TC. And if they do that, they can contribute with the project results to technical standardization work. This is what we call here like individual contribution. And this is actually quite nice because it means that even after the project is finished, these partners are still there. They're still contributing to standardization work. So it's quite sustainable, and also personally, I think this is the best approach. Another approach is if a project, the project itself joins a TC. This is called project liaison. This is defined in Guide 25 if you want to read more about it. And here the project starts a liaison with a TC. So this legal entity of the project sends a representative to a TC or to a working room of group of TCs, and they represent whatever the project is working on. This is also very attractive to the project because it helps with dissemination, but it's also tricky. A research project has a lifetime between 2 and 4 years, like depending on the project. But a standardization deliverable, like a standard, I mean, it takes usually 3 years on average, I'm not sure. But it doesn't really align with this. But it is an option and it happened. Then the next big point, as mentioned, is that a research project can actually develop a new standard or modify existing standards. Of course, for this, they also need some DSO or the project partners need to be involved in the TC. But they can also just make recommendations to TCs. For this, of course, it really depends on the work plan of the TC. So you need to know like if there are new deliverables upcoming, what kind of modifications could be like in framework of the TC. Yeah, right. But a research project could help like indicate gaps or potential for new standards. The last point, as mentioned, CWAs is actually quite an interesting point for research projects because they are very quick. Between half a year, maybe a year, you can develop a CWA. So this is something that a research project can do within the lifetime of a project. And it doesn't follow all the rules and procedures. So it is quite interesting to actually develop a CWA, and they feed into standardization eventually. So you will hear a lot about CWAs if you are involved in research projects. Okay, so what can you do? First thing is awareness is core. Just always keep an open eye. Look for new topics, for new sectors. Standardization activities could be developed literally everywhere. Not only on the national level, also European or international level. And there's research projects tackling all of these aspects. The next thing is like, if you see something, if you see a call or something, ask managers, ask around, somebody knows how to join. There's always a way to get involved. The next one, training and education. I think the biggest obstacle to get involved is a lack of knowledge. So like if you know something, if you know how something works, then also teach other people how it works. Like it's really important to share knowledge about these things. Another point here is the recognition of researchers. Something that we have noticed is that a lot of researchers do not get involved with standardization because they don't get a direct like feedback from standardization. So if they write an academic paper, they have their name there. And they can say like, hey, I have published this academic paper. If they contribute to a standard, their name is not there. It doesn't help them for their careers. So we have to do something to also give recognition to researchers and innovators. So for instance, mention projects, mention academic papers in the introductions of standards or in the CWA, for instance. The other point here is like maybe your NSB or your NC has awards for researchers, maybe not, but it's something to consider. It's a nice thing. Also, it's quite rewarding for you to give out rewards. The third point here, dissemination activities. Make sure that you have an updated web page about RNI. Be active on social media. It actually works. At least LinkedIn, Twitter. Organize events or attend events. And that's also quite nice with research projects because you get funding to do these things. Yeah, and join existing networks, spread information to your TCs, the basic things. This is almost it with the background, some reference documents. There's 3 guides that I vaguely mentioned. First one about like the link between research and standardization, guide 23, guide 25 about liaisons. You've heard about it this morning as well. And then also guide 29 about CWAs. A thing that everybody should have heard about at least once is the code of practice on standardization. Here on the left side. It is by the European Commission. It was also approved by the Council later, and it gives some guidelines on how research and innovation should interact with standardization. So if you want to read like a political paper or policy paper on this link, this is quite a central paper. And then if you want to give something to externals, why they should get involved with standardization from a research innovation perspective, we have this page called Standards plus Innovation, which is a really high level, easy entry step into this world. And then we have another page, HS Booster, which gives recommendations on how actually to get involved. So like if you have a research project and they don't know what to do, they would like to standardize, but what does standardize even mean? They can go there and they are led through the whole process and they will find the best solution to actually standardize. Are there questions so far? Because otherwise we would go into more like practical examples. Perfect. Then I hope Aitor can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Can you say something, Aitor?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're
Great.
here. Great.
Well, first, apologies for not being there. And thanks for the opportunity. I will share my slides because I'm a terrible presenter and I have a lot of slides. I will try to go quickly.
Could you, Aitor, could you switch between presenter mode and
I'm in presenter mode. Couldn't you see it in presenter mode?
Yeah, we see like both slides.
Oh, I will try again.
Thanks.
And after I start, if you can mute the meeting room. Perfect. Because I get my own voice again. And well, I said thanks a lot. I will try to go quickly. A lot of slides. Thanks for being here. I work on the Spanish standardization body. I'm like you, but in Spain, that is the legal entity we have is not relevant. What it might be relevant is that we have been one of the probably first standardization bodies, one of the first, starting with research projects. We are involved in a lot of projects. Here you can see the logos and an explanation on about what fields. I'm a civil engineer. I'm working in the construction unit, in charge of things related with sustainability and with digitalization. And here at UNE, all the standardization officers, I think all of us have at least one research project. Some of us have had two, but we all participate in European research projects. And I will start with an example. This example started like, I don't know, 4 years ago or something like that, just for some ideas, which might be terrible, but you might take it or not. This is what I present in the kickoff meeting. In the kickoff meeting, the first thing you should try to engage with the people of the project, because many of them do not really know what the standardization is. And the first thing is that they should be aware that there's a huge link between your work and their work. I separate into two aspects. The first aspect is to define the state of the art. You cannot innovate if you do not know where industry is today, and that is standards. The standards published or ongoing are the pledging level field for standards. And the second and probably more important thing is that standardization system may be used to communicate the results and also to create acceptance of these results. This is like the easiest thing. The easier thing for you, you just go to your system, digital system, and you get the standards published in a field, things like that. This is the state of the art, but the impact of that is very, very low. And the highest impact is to actually bring your results into a document, as Sebastian said. Usually we have frameworks of agreements. And the other thing you should do, or I recommend you to do, is to define the state of the art in our language, which are technical committees. This project was related with sustainability, energy efficiency for buildings, and it was supported by digitalization. So Here we have the main committees related with sustainability and energy efficiency, and I also presented them things related with digitalization and automation. Sorry. So they can choose which standards they would like to check. They can choose which committees they want to be involved. And then we have to explain the SEN or SENELEC workshop agreements. But why do we make a workshop agreement? It's not because we like it, but that is not the main reason. The main reason is that it's probably the only document you can do during the lifetime of a project. You have 3 years, usually, but a year and a half or a little bit more is used to define the first results. Then you have to take that results, prepare a draft, and launch it. A standard takes around 2.5, 3 years, so you will not end it before the end of the project. But a CWA, you can do it in 1 year or even less, so it perfectly fits your project. It's also probably easier to approve because you don't have the national delegation vote. So this is probably, or from my perspective, the first option you should take for a research project. But in reality, it is not the only option. In this project, we had an issue. When we contacted the main TC, they told us that, okay, we like your idea, but we want a European standard, which we thought, oh, that's good on one side, but it's complicated because we knew we were not going to be able to do it before the end of the project. So what do we do? We presented the proposal mainly between two organizations, my organization and another one. The convener was from the other one. So we were presenting other proposals, and our idea was to use 2 projects, or in this case 3 projects, to finance this European standard. This is a project UNE was awarded to, so we use the previous project and the next project to start a standard. So then we asked for a working group, we asked for a work item, and we started working. Once the project was finalized, we lost a lot of steam, and the things are going a little bit slower. But it was, I think it was quite an interesting idea, and we are still working on that. My recommendation is that you should not only focus on one thing. You should try different things because you might fail. The framework experiment might not be approved, or even you might not be able to start it. So we did other things. We engaged with this working group, which was easy because I'm the secretary, but we were developing use cases, and all the use cases were based on research. So we sent two use cases, and they are included in a TR, which was published this year. I recommend if you want also to present what you are doing in standardization in different fields. This is a research group in data formats for environmental information, but there are a lot. You should try to go there. You register that, you put it in the deliverable, and it's something very important for you, for your organization, and for the project. This project was recognized last year. We won the Innovation and Standards Plus Innovation Awards as a project, and as a project officer, I also received a recognition last year. It was a nice year. And to put some more examples, this is the first CWA that I made in 2016. It was published. That was the end of the project. It was really nice. At that time, it was like we had very few framework agreements, and it was quite interesting. Now we have a lot, and it's not so new. After that, we made other projects related with roads, with more framework agreements like this one. And something that I would like also to highlight to you, if you can, is try to use social media to engage more people, to have more people working with you. This is the European Association in the left. You have the European Association for Roads. They were calling for experts for our workshop. My organization UNE also asked for that. A month before starting the project, we had a huge snowstorm in Madrid, and the city was collapsed for 2 weeks. And our framework experiment was dealing with extreme events and how to react to that. So it was like very convenient in a way. But we used social media. I have a newsletter I published there. We asked CCMC to help us, and they did it. Please always ask for the help from CCMC because they will help you. When you publish, also try to make a lot of noise, if you know what I mean, and it can also be published in CCMC website because they will help you. with the dissemination. And if any of you haven't participated in a project, this is the project I'm engaged now. This is just so you can see in this project we have 18 partners. You have them here, like 6 million euros budget. It's a little bit more than 3 years. Usually projects has 3 years. This is a little bit more. And this project is continuing the task of the first project. And we are working 3 projects together, the project that I presented in the beginning, and 2 active projects. One of them is financing the convener, the coordinator of the working group, and the other one is financing me. That creates complexity because it's not so easy to work 2 projects together, but it's also interesting in a way and challenging. And but again, with the same idea of, if in case you fail, do something else, because you may fail in your first initiative to disseminate your work. Yesterday I sent to CCMC and to some TCs a proposal for a workshop agreement. So that's something else we will do. We are participating in working groups, and we are participating also in, this is something we are starting, we are participating in research articles, publishing in indexed journals. We already sent an article with me as first author, and I'm preparing the second one, which will be sent around March. And just for you, I think this thing it might be very interesting in your work. I really think it might be. One of the reasons is that you will get your own funding. I'm not sure how your organization works, but at least in mine, you have to get approved for each travel you make, if you want to go to a congress, if you want to do something. But when you have a research project, you have your own budget, at least here, and you can manage it, and you can travel, you can go to committees, you can go to working groups, and that's very interesting. And in addition, you can use it to learn, and you can use it to make other things. For example, I'm starting the PhD, and I will use the material from the projects to publish articles. So you can, what I mean is, I think it's something that can make your work more interesting if you like it, and if you don't, there are many other things you can do. But I really recommend you to at least try to do this.